Right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Blob Watch, episode 9, I think. With your favorite YouTuber here, AI Shiatori. And we're joined today with two reoccurring guests. First of all, we got Plantagenet from the Basket Weavers, and also I believe you've got another Discord group, which is the British Museum.
Yeah, I tell everybody. Yeah, I do. So it's basically in connection to Basket Weavers, a place to discuss British history, politics, culture, all that good stuff, really.
Oh, cool. Yes, and because obviously there's a few rules in the Basket Weavers which cannot be, the certain subjects can't be discussed because it's not. I mean, I don't even know. Are we even allowed to talk about it?
I think that should be fine. Yeah, I mean, the Weavers is strictly a non-political thing, so yeah, we want to keep politics out.
Wholesome AF.
Yeah, wholesome content only.
Wholesome content, and of course we have to deny its existence because the normies mustn't know what's going.
It's actually a Minecraft server. Check it out.
Yeah, it's a Minecraft server, and links will always be provided in the description below. But it's limited. I mean, some people have been contacting me saying, "Oh, I've been trying to click on it, but it's not working." Yeah, because there's like a 24-hour limit on the sharing thing. For some like,
I can get you a link that's like permanent.
Oh, great! If you could send it over in the private chat or something, I can. I'll add it to the description a bit later. And also we got another guest, Joz. Good evening,
Hello.
sir. And you sort of got, it was you and Sam who have started up your own YouTube series on future of space, like Britain's future in space.
Well, I mean, initially we started doing kind of weekly news things, which we did a fair few episodes of, but then kind of thought we had a little bit more to offer than that. So we started, just doing every week we'll pick like an idea or a technology or something, and we will go away, have a look, and then come back and talk about it. Normally to do with, kind of future white pills, I suppose. It's more for people to, I guess, learn and have something to look forward to rather than looking at the sort of hellhole future that we seem to be heading for.
Too many black pills for one day.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea.
Yes, and I mean, we just mentioned this before we came on air. It looks like the future of space travel may be sooner rather than later. If Tucker Carlson latest news story on the UFOs and alleged UFO material.
I heard a load have been declassified, but I don't know very much more than that.
Yeah. Well, the things that are being declassified are ambiguous at best, and the actual the important questions and the important sort of documents about what are the things, where are they coming from, which apparently is known, is not being declassified because reasons. I mean, it's very likely that most of these could be. Most of these could be, private, top secret military aircraft, missiles, that sort of stuff that they don't want China or Russia or anyone else to know about. But I mean, we'll see what happens with that. But I just find it funny that Tucker Carlson has a real thing for UFOs at the moment, which is interesting.
I mean, it's interesting stuff. I still remain unconvinced by aliens or exist with the fact that we have seen life already. But I'm very, very happy to be wrong on that.
Yes, well, it's a question of the I want to believe, isn't it? That I want to believe.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to believe. Though, I mean, given 2020's current trajectory,
yeah,
it wouldn't be surprising. So with so we're going to be sort of go through a range of topics tonight. First, we're going to talk about the US election because I've been off for a week near enough, sort of with Rubber and Owen talking about party tactics, the Conservative Party and manifestos and all that sort of stuff. We've sort of missed out quite a big chunk of news coverage, like Trump catching COVID and the debates and polling. And so I thought what we'll do is talk about the US election a bit, talk about Trump's chances, and the recent polling that's been done by the legacy media, but also by other pollsters who are predicting something wildly different. I just want to ask a question to both of you gentlemen. How do you think Trump is doing? Do you think that he's on course to win in November?
I mean, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. I don't think there's been a point where I would say I would have bet against him, I guess. But the odds have gone up and down, I think.
Yes.
Putting my tinfoil hat on for a minute, I think that getting COVID might have been a little bit planned, seeing how quickly he shrugged it off. I'm trying to think what the low points have been. I'm trying to think what the low points have been for him. I guess he didn't do as well as we expected in his debate with Biden. And then I guess, from the other night, from what I saw, I didn't watch the whole thing, but it seems that the vice presidential one was a little bit more conclusive, I guess.
I guess it would depend who you talk to. I have quite a few American friends in real life, and they are rabid, like crazy Democrats, and like of the sort of more corporate type, not the socialist type. Yeah,
and they seem to give Kamala a sort of average score, like she did all right, which makes me think like she did shit, basically, because if she'd done like in any way good, then they would have been like, yeah, she's the best, she's done amazing.
I
did see actually, I think from today that a lot of voters have been turned off from her performance in the debate with Pence. I can't exactly remember where I saw that.
Well, she was just a massive bitch for most of it.
I haven't watched it. That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, she was. She came across very condescending, didn't she?
Isn't that? I think she felt kind of similar in the leadership election though as well, for the candidate election. She was pretty similar when it came to debate, and that's the sort of the reaction that people got from her, wasn't it? That she came off in that sort of manner.
It's very obvious that she's just been kind of pushed into the position, and that she doesn't really deserve it. She's underperformed, I guess, whenever she's had to speak in public. I mean, yeah, she got absolutely roasted by Tulsi Gabbard in her initial. She got absolutely, like, that ended her fucking campaign. It was her getting wrecked. And then it seems like Pence put her in their place as well. So it seems quite obvious that she doesn't really deserve to be there.
I mean, I watched a bit of it. I think that Pence did better than I thought. I thought Kamala might come out on top against Pence, because I don't know much about Pence. All I know is the car battery memes and the electric shock memes. I think Pence did quite well, actually. I think he did wipe the floor with her in some areas. But this is the thing, is where you see the radical polling. Like, you had the NSNBC give her like 69% said that Kamala Harris won, and then you had like another poll, I think it was CNN, which said 60. No, Good Morning America, that was it. 69% said that Pence won. Came out on top. So it's quite clear that the polls are not accurate. I mean, because I think that the problem is, like, the media, the mainstream media within the East-West coast are asking people that they know also in the East-West coast, and these are states which are not necessarily in play when it comes to the election. Like, we're pretty certain that we're pretty certain at this point that places like Massachusetts and probably New York and New England and Maine and such and Vermont, they're all going to vote Democrat. They're all going to vote Biden.
They were never not going to.
Sorry?
They were never not going to, and they haven't been hit particularly bad by the rioting or anything.
No, and it also looks like that Washington State and Oregon are going to, and obviously California. Yeah, California is going to vote Democrat. So we know the East-West Coast what's going to be voting Democrat. But of course, as I got on screen here, this is the I guess latest round of polling after I believe it was after the Kamala Harris and Mike Pence debate. So Florida, these are the key battlegrounds that the Democrats and the Republicans will need to win. So Florida, of course, is the most famous one. That's the one which is whichever president wins the election carries Florida. That's the general rule. Obama carried it, the Bushes carried it, and of course Trump in the last presidential election carried Florida as well. You also have Pennsylvania, which was now, if I remember correctly, that one last time was a wild card flip. It wasn't expected. It was presumed that Hillary Clinton would hold on to Pennsylvania. No, it was assumed that she was meant to have a landslide, but that the Pennsylvania one was, if I remember correctly, was a surprise. And of course, Biden's leading that with 54%, Trump to 41%, and then Iowa. And this is interesting because this is a safe Republican state as the presidential election. I think the last time the Democrats won it might have been in Obama's first term, possibly also Bill Clinton's election in the 90s. But this one is saying that this is 50% to Biden. And this is the one result which has really brought my question into polling, because I don't see this playing out at all in reality, in any shape or way. And I know people have been talking about there's no momentum behind the Biden campaign, which is that. But I don't know about you guys, but I haven't heard a single Trump voter from 2016 now saying, I'm going to go switch and I'm going to vote for Biden.
I have
heard that on social media, on American TV.
Richard Spencer.
Well, I mean, I'm quickly on their website, Quinnipiac polling, and pretty much on their since June, April, we're going back into November. They're finding pretty much always Biden and Harris in the lead. Pretty much, it seems pretty consistent. They're always results are in that sort of direction. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because according to Tim Pool in one of his latest videos, he's been suggesting that the sample of the polling is inherently leaning towards Democrats anyway. It was something like 36% asked the Democrats, and then compared to 29% Republicans, and then you have the people who aren't registered with political parties or unaffiliated. And so he sort of there's been you've had the commentators going through each sort of poll and doing their own criticism of it. I mean, the thing there is, I'm seeing more and more with a lot of Democrats on Twitter actually going into the realms of they're going to be winning seats like North and South Carolina and Texas and Arizona and such, and even places like Iowa. And I'm just thinking, I just can't see in any shape or way a the backdrop for a Biden, effectively what they'd be asking for, Biden landslide come November.
Yeah, I think a lot of yeah, I mean, as the whole time I've kind of not really seen it, like anything like Biden winning. As I said, it's been up and down, but I think consistently I've said it's going to be Trump from the start.
Yeah,
I mean, it seems there's a lot more from it, just general support from him, at least just on the ground rather than on the Twitter sphere or in obviously the not going to have in the mainstream either.
Yeah, and I see Plantagenet. I think you sent me something in the private chat.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the methodology for their on their polls.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So well, this is the point. I think you just put this. I'll just summarize it in chat. But so what Plantagenet was put on here is basically the methodology behind polling. It's obviously ran to sample of adults of 18 years and older, and what they've done is basically each category group that is you have would be randomly selected from the population in an equal sort of way, and what it does is that the interesting thing is that the interviewing periods, because you have to, when it comes to polling, you have to break down not just who you're asking, but also what time of day you're asking them. And one thing that that has been noticeable about the calls is, number one, if you use landlines, you tend to get more older voters. If you use the internet, you tend to get more younger voters. If you use texting, you sort of get middle age, for instance, in this country at least. And then when it comes to what time of day you contact for polling, so it's so for here you've got the typical field period for interviewing is 4 to 7 days. We call from 6 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then obviously with a few additional Saturday and Sunday. And so what you do is you've actually narrowed down in many ways the people that you would be the population. You actually inadvertently narrow it down. Now the question is the polling being used? If the polling is genuine, okay, that's fine. If polling is genuine, that's fine. But is it a case that these polling companies who do work closely with media outlets which have their own bias, political bias and everything, and they have their own viewpoints, is it the case that in many ways the polling isn't there to inform public opinion, but it's there to control and lead public opinion? And that's where I'm getting at with the polls, because obviously the pro Democrat ones will have Biden in the lead, and we'll see in a minute the pro Trump and the more pro Republican ones will have Trump in the lead. So it comes to the reality that in many ways I don't think Biden is ahead. I don't know if Trump's ahead. I think it's probably quite even at the moment. I think most people have made up their decision by now of who they're going to vote for, and they probably made up the decision ages ago. But I don't think there is as many floating voters as that's been made out to be.
Oh yeah, I don't think any of the adverts or debates or anything have changed anyone's mind, if I'm honest. They probably changed up. If there's a few undecided people, then maybe, but people who identify as Democrats or Republicans aren't going to switch sides.
And especially since May and June, I don't see how people can't have made up their minds by this point. It's just inconceivable, really.
No, and also, I mean, all those Democrats, I mean, because this is where you go into the nitty-gritty detail of this. All those Democrats who switched in 2016, so all those Democrat voters who voted for Obama and Bill Clinton and such, in places like Michigan, in Ohio and Pennsylvania and such, those key states which Trump needs to win again. What is Biden offering them, and what is their because this is the thing I go back to. I'm not seeing in those key states that matter. I mean, you forget New York and California for a second, because they don't matter, because we all know how those results are going to play out. But in those key states, what is the message coming out? And one thing I noticed that was very interesting is right before the Kenosha, because I believe Kenosha's in Michigan, right before the Kenosha rioting that broke out, the Democrats were actually, I think Biden was doing reasonably well in polling and in local polling. As soon as it happened, and as soon as the I think originally the governor declined support to the Democrat governor, and then he actually accepted the support from the federal authorities. But at that point, the polling started to became really narrow. And in fact, in some polling, Trump was leading in Michigan. So, again, I don't see I don't see a massive ground shift from Democrat voters who voted for Trump and are going back to Democrats. Not like we saw in this country when you had, all the, I guess, say Northern Labour voters who were either going to vote for the Conservatives or vote for the Brexit Party in large numbers. Because those were quite visible people, because they were very vocal, because they were angry, and they were very passionate about their views, and the fact that the Labour Party had become completely alien to their communities, which they meant to represent.
I was looking through some of their more of the information. I think like Wisconsin, they've got Wisconsin coming out as in favour of Trump, and I think it's quite, like you said, it's quite a few of those sort of. There has been riots, and there has been quite a backlash to the riots that are looking towards Trump. I wonder, yeah, I mean, even in Texas as well, Trump is a slight edge apparently, according to Quinnipiac, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't think there's going to be a red wave. I don't think there's going to be a blue wave. I think it's going to be quite similar to last time.
It'll come like a few key states.
Yeah, it'll come down to a few. I don't think we'll know the election. I think on the night, I think because the mail-in voting, because of COVID, because of a lot of things that are going to be going on. I don't think we're going to know the results on the night. I think it's going to be over several weeks. That's my prediction. I think there'll be certain districts or counties in some of those key states where the results will be unknown for quite some time, and there probably will be some legal challenges from both sides, depending on what the who comes out with the most electoral college votes. But I mean, we'll see how that pans out. But as I said, I don't think. I mean, I think the way that I would say is one of the mistakes that Clinton made was she treated the presidential election last time as her own personal anointment, like she was being anointed to a position which she has deserved her entire life. And I think that's that sort of mentality of, well, I'm anointed, I'm the the internationalist, anointed candidate, and that, I mean, she was deeply hated by much of America, much of Middle America, and I think Trump did quite well off the back of that. So my message to those voters is you go out and vote. I mean, I think Miku's Pterodax just put in the comment here. He just said he says I think it'd be a landslide, but which way it goes up in the air. It is, but the important thing is no complacency at this stage. You need to go out and vote. You need to go out and treat it like it was in 2016. Basically, because the thing is, even though that Trump is the president, he's still actually the underdog candidate in all of this. You constantly lied in the media and the establishment in the US, and he's been up against it all for 4 years. And so I'm not. And that probably leads on to the next point, which is Nancy Pelosi and the invoking of the 25th Amendment. And so, have you two heard what's been going on there?
I have very little clue what this is all about. You might have to explain that one to me.
Yeah, me neither.
Right. Okay. What I'll do is I'll just stop sharing and I'll just so I'll just type. So basically, what's happened is let me just bring it. I'm going to bring up the Guardian as a source.
What is this? Laughing at the Guardian?
Yeah, what is this? Laughing at the Guardian. Yeah. So basically, what's been going on is that due to Boris Johnson, then due to Donald Trump being released from hospital, he's been on a cocktail of drugs to combat the COVID, which makes sense because given his age and everything else, even though he has like a 94% survival rate, I imagine his team is not taking any chances. So he's on everything possible to put him through it. And
Biden wasn't drugs up to his eyeballs in the fucking debate.
Yes.
It was just so obvious looking at it.
Yeah, and of course, because he's on drugs, he's been doing some like usual tweets and interviews. He went on Rush Limbaugh's radio show, and he basically said that on the radio, he said he's going to tell Iran we're not fucking around, and he said we're not fucking around on radio.
He said something like the doctors checked my DNA, but instead they found USA.
Yeah, he's been doing the usual Trump stuff, but of course the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi are now arguing that because of the cocktail of drugs and the infection, it may affect it's affecting his mental health and his physical health. And so there's this thing in the US Constitution that if a president goes loopy or becomes unwell or disabled, all that sort of stuff, that there's an amendment to effectively remove him or her from office.
I just had a thought. I wouldn't, if God, hopefully not. If Biden does win, I wouldn't be surprised if that got used against him. So
yeah.
One of the reasons
I was about to say is that I've been saying since Biden was starting that regardless of what happens in November, Biden is probably not going to see very much in 2021 because if he wins, then they want Kamala in power. If he loses, then he's not really any more use to them.
No, exactly. He's not. I doubt he's even going to get beyond 1 year as president, let alone the full 4 years. But this is. I don't think it's ever been used in US. I mean, I might be wrong. Might be completely wrong. But I don't think it's actually been used. 25th Amendment's been used before. So, of course, the Democrats have gone ahead with this and this tactic, and they're going to introduce this to Congress, to both, and I think to both houses, where this is going to be their final attempt, I imagine, before the election to get Donald Trump removed from office.
You've got to give them consistency.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give them credit for the best bit about it is that a lot of Democrats that I've seen on Twitter talk about it are really worried that this is going to play into Trump's hand, because Trump has been constantly talking about, like a soft coup, and a lot of his supporters, like Rush Limbaugh and such, have been talking about a soft coup, and what we got here, it's a bit of a coup, really.
It's just it's tactics, it's politicking. It's not. Everyone just can see that it's not genuine.
Yeah, it's not genuine. It's deliberately being done by Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats for pure, as you said, pure political gain. I mean, and this is the thing, as Tim Paul said, like, why would you vote Democrat now anyway? Because no matter, I mean, they can go and say, okay, what has actually they've done? What have they done to improve their constituents and their constituent lives? I mean, in fact, this lady here, Nancy Pelosi, she's done the opposite for most of her constituents. I mean, she got one of her own hairdressers shut down permanently and being constantly harassed by Democrat supporters online because she reported her for having that whole haircut thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what you got to remember is that, and this is from my experience of talking to Americans IRL, and they seem to genuinely think that like actual fascists run their government at the moment. And it's like, okay, so you could put up, if you thought that, Boris Johnson was a genuine fascist, say, you would take having somebody who may have got their hairdresser shut down. Like you would take a doddery old man who can't seem to speak a sentence over somebody who you believe is a genuine fascist who will destroy your country if they're given another 4 years, which is what I've seen from American friends.
Yeah, and of course, this. I mean, the whole fascist. Because one thing I don't understand with this is, if you're arguing that the whole system is run by fascists, then that means unless they don't know their own political makeup, you have let's take Portland, for example. You got a Democrat mayor, you got Democrat senators, congressmen and women and all that sort of stuff. You got Democrat legislators, you got Democrat governors. I mean, it doesn't. It's so inconcise, because unless you're arguing that the Democrat Party is run by fascists, then this is so I don't know where the argument for there's literally hordes of fascists.
I think they mean the Trump's administration.
Oh, the Trump administration, yeah.
The word I genuinely was not just fascist. I was told National Socialist, like specifically. At that point, I just refused to go any further because I know I will just get angry, and that's the point where I just start laughing because it's just so ridiculous.
I mean, at that point, there's no point. You can't go on.
Exactly, and I don't want to let them get away with thinking that and not challenging it, but at the same time, I know it's just gonna cause an hour of argument. I can't bother to deal with that.
But this is the most fucking ridiculous thing. If you actually look at the National Socialist Nazi Party's policies and what they implemented, I mean, first of all, environmentalism. Hitler was a vegan. Animal rights and such. If Hitler was today standing in for governor of California, he'd probably win it. And ironically, and this is the thing, because in many ways, this boogeyman that's been created by the left is, well, I mean, and this is where I go back to the horseshoe theory, is exactly what the radical left is at the moment. And I mean, I don't believe that I mean, for one second, that anyone's buying into this belief that there are these hordes of white nationalists, neo-Nazis, running about the countryside in America or in this country. I mean, I know there's been like articles recently, like in the Metro, talking about decolonizing and conquering the non-BAME friendly countryside, and it's just also tiring to look through, because it's a complete inversion on reality. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know how people operate.
The perception is that the American country is a lot more sort of wild, and the British one is a lot more like prim and proper, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is probably where that comes from. Like, you wouldn't say, I mean, I guess the American, like rural America, is probably, the perception is it's more hostile to black people, say, because of the people there being rednecks and Confederate flags and shotguns and stuff. Whereas in Britain, it's because they're rich farmers. Like, it's an inversion.
Yeah. And I mean, we'd be seeing like these articles, which is sort of, I mean, it's complete lying. I mean, and these are meant to be historians as well. Some of them been putting this out there, so they should know better. And they're just being deliberately lying for political gain by saying that at some point in English history that there were these plantations across the English countryside.
Were they actually saying that?
Yeah.
And you're applying like an Americanized victimhood.
Well, I mean, that's
to British history.
Yeah, it's like, go on, sorry.
Sorry, I mean, that's not just the importation of intersectional identity politics to the UK for universities. There's a very Americanized perception of race relations.
Yeah, it's not just the universities, I think. Like, it's a lot of, like, sometimes I just want to, like, my fellow countrymen, I just want to fucking grab them by the shoulders and shake them and be like, "You're not American."
Yeah.
We don't have American history here. We are a fundamentally different country. It does matter.
Much better country, if I may say so.
Of course, yeah.
And I mean, Pulse Ghost says I know there are people who genuinely believe that all Brexit voters are racist, and I can believe that many believe that Trump is literally Nazi. Well, I have family members living in Remainer Central, back in when the whole Brexit thing was going on, and yeah, basically he said we had a meal out with them and some family members, and one of them said, the racist little Englanders. So yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. There is a large percentage of the country who basically believe that, like, especially outside London, that these are some uncouth, uneducated racists who want the British Empire back. I mean, they generally believe that we outside London we're sort of planning to reconquer India.
Wait, we're not.
Shush. The space program. Quiet.
Well, yeah, I remember it goes to back when I was in college. Some girl said, that the cities are like 20 years ahead of all the counties. They're all backwards. They're all behind. I think that sentiment is very widely held, especially in the British middle classes.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, having just kind of dunked on the Americans, I guess one thing that does annoy me is how British people are very disparaging of Americans in a lot of ways. And I guess that the stereotype of the stupid American, like, I was chatting to a British mate the other day who was talking about Trump voters, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they're all racists." And I was like, "So you think that like 150 million people are like, oh, okay, maybe not 150 million because that's half the population. Okay, assuming half the population voted, that's like 60 million people. Are they just racist? There's nothing you can do. That's what they seem to think."
I mean, more race systems have actually existed throughout history if we're just going by that standard.
Yeah, it's like if you're just gonna just write off a quarter of the population of one of the largest countries, then and the most powerful country, then like what does it say about the rest of humanity?
And bloody hell, that's what they don't find out about a certain communist state in Asia and what they've been doing.
Or certain areas of the Middle East.
Yes, and I mean, it's quite because I've been thinking about the problem with like especially in the Anglosphere, the problem with urbanized, metropolitan, cosmopolitan cities, because of course these have become the breeding grounds for, especially in the United States, breeding grounds for progressive thought, for critical theory and critical race theory, and it's been exported over here in a big way. All our institutions have been now infected with this absolutely retarded disease of critical race theory, and I mean, I'm very saddened to hear that even our military has been infected by it.
Yeah. Well, they've had like adverts like, "Oh, it's all right to be a Muslim and drop everything to do it.
Back and pray while you're on patrol.
Drop everything, get your prayer mat out and pray to Mecca like in the middle of a patrol." Oh, that's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah. If I hear in like the paratroopers them talking about whiteness, I swear to God, I'm going to go full boogaloo. I'm not joking at this stage.
There was that thing. There was, I think it was maybe a year or two ago. There was those paratroopers that used a picture of Jeremy Corbyn for target practice, and I think they got. I tell you what,
if a civil war ever did happen, the one regiment in the British Army that would be on, let's say, quote unquote, our side in Minecraft, to be important in Minecraft, would be the paras.
I think maybe get the Marines as well on our side.
Yeah. I mean the police and the police would definitely be on the communist side. But fortunately, I say fortunately in this country the police aren't armed, so they couldn't do much damage in Minecraft.
If we're looking at the Trafalgar Square protests, they can still, when they want to, they can still be pretty effective when it comes to crowd control.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they can. I mean, they may have sold their water cannon, but they've still got tear gas, riot shields, like the lot. They can take out a crowd of people, no problem.
Easily.
And this is a problem that the Conservatives pretty much created for themselves, because what they did, and this is I know we promote localism and I promote localism, but I actually do believe, because I'm not a libertarian. I'm not libertarian when it comes to most points. I do believe that there are certain things which shouldn't be devolved or local. I don't like the term like devolution, because I think it's a Blairite construction. I don't like things which I think there's certain things that shouldn't be localized, and I think the police shouldn't have been localized in the way that it was done, because what's happened is effectively the Met Police is controlled by Steve Khan and the London Mayor Office. You've got you have police and crime commissioners who are mix of Labour and Conservative, and of course, because our nation's capital with our rich history is in the control of the Labour Party, of the radical left, and people who just are basically not in control. And I know what, Powell, you're saying. Have you read the Abolition of Britain? Yes, I have. I know what you're saying. They aren't localized, but I don't believe they should have been devolved into political fiefdoms. Let's put it like that. That's probably a better term to use. I don't think that they should have been. They should have been devolved into political fiefdoms, because what effectively has happened is take Colston statue or the Black Lives Matter protests in London, and this is really funny. The Home Secretary, with current powers, can't do anything. She couldn't do anything back then. She can't do anything now, because all the power all the decisions, like the orders, because in the past she could just phone up the commissioner and say, listen, I want this done, do it now. That can't be done because that's not within her power. That has to be done by the likes of Sadiq Khan and everything. And then you have yeah.
Fucking Sadiq Khan.
Yes, fucking Sadiq Khan. And so you've got this point now where effectively the position, the actual concept of having a Home Secretary is now redundant. There's no point of having one now.
It was also like the whole illegal migration with what they said a couple of weeks ago with we could do something, but because there's so many different legal bodies, institutions, regulations that will create an upstir about it, it's not going to do anything. It's completely just immobilized or ineffective.
Yeah. And so I think one of the problem is that I think with the abolition of Britain, it was all designed because it was a sort of reinvention of Britain in Blair's image, and we're still the Conservatives and everyone else was still playing on Blair's rule book. We're still playing on his own rules and his legacy that he created. And this is the thing. You didn't buy anything that she could do. Well, I mean, she could have done something, I guess, but the point is, there wasn't. The thing is, if you actually look at who controls when it comes to decision making, like on the ground decision, she can't. I mean, the only thing that the government could have done is pass emergency legislation and just taken back control of policing.
If she's not in charge, what is the point of her?
Yeah, because I mean, like, for the fact of the matter, it's like, take Bristol for example. The fact of the matter is that there was a mob who brought down the statue, chucked it into the river, and the local authorities and the police stood by and effectively applauded them. I mean, if that's not an excuse to bring control and take power away and actually just bring control back and do something, then I don't know what is. And then, well, why don't they? I don't know. I don't think they've got the vision. I don't think they've got the political will. I don't think they know too much about government. I think that's one thing I've noticed. Ironic as it sounds, they don't know too much about government. A lot of it is because a lot of them have come up during the coalition period. A lot of them have a lot of intelligent and competent advisors, and they don't want to rock the boat. And they don't want to. Yeah. And this is the thing, because there are certain things that I think happen where that you can see through the politicians' bullshit. And I mean, I think one thing that's going to be haunting the Conservatives for years to come will be that image of Churchill being incarcerated in this iron tomb when there was meant to be a lockdown, when we were meant to have this terrible COVID pandemic, and yet nobody said anything against the Black Lives Matter protests. I mean, for me, that showed, I don't think there's been a point that I can remember of pure Conservative Party weakness in the face of something like this. It amazed me how weak they were. And they say what you want. The end. So Pals goes, you had it, yes. I mean, it does raise the question that actually, many of the, especially the Liberal Conservatives just didn't care. They didn't care about the idea of their statues or even Churchill being conducted. I mean, they would go on Twitter and say, "Oh, isn't this terrible?" And it's like, well, yeah, but you've got the 80 fucking seat majority. Do something. I mean, fuck me. I mean, personally, first thing I would have done was, number one, abolish the Police and Crime Commissioner, take the position of the Met Police back into government control, not Sadiq Khan's control, got the military on the streets and crushed the Black Lives Matter insurgency, and put back Colston's statue on Bristol and arrested all the Antifa Bristolians.
Well, with the emergency powers that the government currently has due to the lockdown, they could have done all of those things perfectly.
I know,
and it just shows that you have to question, what's actually. I
mean, I wouldn't mind. I mean, okay, yes, they got emergency powers, and there are people out there that don't like the idea of government wielding emergency powers. But if they were using emergency powers to crush the leftists, I would forgive them for it. I wouldn't be too bothered. But they're not, and in fact, they're doing the complete opposite.
I mean, it shows the complete just. Their priorities in the wrong place. They'll go and defend Rule Britannia at the proms, but when they actually our actual images and our statues of cultural heritage are being defamed and destroyed, they just won't lift a finger.
You see, I think there's this collective head in the sand with the Conservative Party. I think that they refuse to believe that what's happening in society, and the trouble is, the Conservative Party have avoided going to the culture war, and the problem is the culture wars come knocking at their door, and they're now hiding under the sofa, hoping it to go away. And I think when it came to Churchill and Colston, there was only, I think Ben Bradley and a few others from the Red Wall Northern Conservative MPs probably said, what the fuck's going on here? But the rest of them, no, just head in the sand, nothing, not a single one. And especially government. I mean, I actually think back to the day. There should have. In many ways, that was such because you had effectively a local government, local Labour sanctioned mob going around Bristol, tearing down the statue, and criminal damage. Because the thing, it wasn't even. It was public property. And that still to this day shocks me and stirs me. But we should move on. So
it depends if we accept the concept of public property or not.
Yeah, fucking hell, yeah. It's a Labour area controlled by Momentum, so obviously they don't accept the concept of public property.
Well, you'd have thought they would be more in favour of public property. That's what they're all about, isn't it?
Yes. Well, one would think so. So we were discussing the polls, weren't we? I said, I've got someone in chat actually before I go on this. As a Red Wall Tory, we've organised during the pandemic, and let me just say things are afoot to stop something against Boris next. A lockdown makes, and I've taken towards the youth Tory group over.
That's pretty base.
Base. Well done. That's what needs to happen, though. I mean, you need to take over. When you see Tories who are not acting as Conservatives, and you're there, and you can actually do something, to change the situation. It's your duty, Mr. The Regiment, to do so. It's your duty to do something about it, and that's what fortunately, where I live, I'm in a Conservative constituency, which is pretty based anyway. The MP is quite based, and membership. There's not really much like wettism, proseccoism going on here, so I don't need to do too much work here. But yeah, and so I'm in a fortunate position. But as I was saying, we'll go back to the polling. And so the next bit was, of course, the Democracy Institute, which predicted the last couple of elections for Trump, has predicted that Trump will win, and he's he's got 46% of the vote, and he's got like a lead over, I think it's like a 2% or something like lead over Biden, and he's leading in the key swing states. So yeah, so that's the sort of counter to obviously the other polling that's been done by the mainstream media outlets, and I mean we'll see how it plays out. I'm quietly confident when it comes to Trump's polling that he's going to pull it off this time, hopefully. And as I said, check out the Democracy Institute and their blog, because the way that they do their polling is they actually go like from district to district, where they find like in certain states the most like demographically even district, and they all do the samples from there, and that's probably how they get, because they get very accurate results. I think in the last one they predicted Pennsylvania flipping to Donald Trump, which no one was predicting at the time. So they are very accurate indeed. And so the next story, I guess, after that, gentleman, is the Darren Grimes situation. So have you two heard what's been going on with Darren Grimes?
Vaguely.
He's getting investigated by the police for stuff that Starkey said, even though Grimes threw him under the bus.
Well, if you ask me, that's it. So,
well, yeah, I mean, principally, I want to defend him, but I also have absolutely zero sympathy.
Exactly. I mean, when somebody just has a renowned historian on and trays them they are meant to be quote unquote a conservative and against.
It does my head in with all the people coming out and defending Grimes now, and it's like, where the fuck were you when it wasn't journalists? Like all the mainstream journalists like Piers Morgan and that coming out saying that this shouldn't be happening to Grimes is ridiculous, and it's like there's been hundreds of other cases of people who weren't journalists that this happened to. Where were you then?
Well, that's been the whole, isn't it? I think it's been sort of the aggressive left.
Sorry, you got a bit roboty there. Right?
Yeah, you went a bit robot.
Oh, apologies. Also in America, there's been quite a few aggressive journalists that started saying, maybe this cancelling isn't a good idea from recently, I believe.
Yeah, where were they like 5 years ago?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like first they came for blah blah blah.
Yeah. But this is the thing, like, I mean, I watched that interview that Starkey did, and he didn't even say anything racist. I mean, he didn't and this is the thing. I mean, personally, if I was Darren Grimes, I'd be saying, "Great, let's go to court. Let's play the clip. I want everyone to see it and see."
Well, Starkey didn't say anything incorrect either.
Yeah.
No, what he said was, if he was making a point that you can't compare slavery, like the Atlantic slave trade, to the Holocaust, because there's so many, in his words, damn blacks around in America. Meaning that they weren't genocided, they were enslaved, which is obviously a different thing. And it's like, if he'd said something like, the Holocaust was really bad, that's why there aren't any damn Jews in Germany, because the population of Jews is really low compared to what it was in the 30s and even now, then using the same terminology, but for damn Jews, there aren't that many in Germany, that would be adding kind of emphasis to the fact that there's not very many of them, as opposed to the fact that they're Jewish.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so retarded.
If you look at the way Starkey, sorry, go on.
No, sorry, Plantagenet. You go.
I mean, if you just look at the way Starkey, when he does interviews, podcasts, just talks, he does get quite into it as well. And yeah, he said, "Damn!" I mean, it's really such a, obviously in the climate, that's why they obviously went after him. But it's really if you know anything about Starkey, it's just that's often he gets into those sort of I don't know, when he gets really into something, he gets quite like energetic. I guess is the right word to use.
He's passionate about it because he's a historian.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't accept. I just refuse to accept that he didn't or said anything. Like, I won't apologize for him about saying "damn blacks" or "damn whatever." Like, I don't even accept that's a bad thing to say.
Yeah, and I still don't understand. Like, if the police wanted to investigate, why are they not investigating Starkey? Why are they investigating Grimes? I mean, surely they'd have better chance of prosecution and making an example of somebody. They would go after Starkey. Surely, doesn't make any sense.
Well, he's not as high profile as Grimes.
I would say he's probably about a bit more high profile. Well, he's more influential with the top of academia society.
Starkey, I wouldn't say. I don't know. Starkey's been he's been cast out before. He's not in a permanent position anywhere. Like maybe 10, 15 years ago, probably. Like, I remember watching documentaries when I was little, but I wouldn't say recently.
Well, I wonder, just out of curiosity, maybe the woman on the BBC who said want to kill Whitey. Maybe we can get a police case against her. Obviously we can't, but
in Minecraft,
it'd be nice to have them for once.
Yeah, but no. She was joking, though. Obviously.
Oh, of course, yeah. It was
like anyone would see that's a joke, right?
The
police would just let her off because it's obviously a joke.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, what law are the Met Police investigating? Is it one of the hate speech? I imagine it's one of the hate speech laws.
I think it was quote unquote stirring up racial hatred or something like that.
Well,
if anything, let's be honest, what Starkey said is doing the opposite. It's fucking toning down racial violence or hatred.
So it turns out that even the most cancerous commentator in the UK even agrees that this is not it is not something that the police should be looking into. So
maybe it's because he's a young journalist, not someone she doesn't like or can't relate to.
Yeah,
she's so devoid of empathy she can't relate to anyone other than someone similar to her.
Well, yeah, because she's a fucking idiot. Yeah.
Like if you show her the stuff happening to what was it, the girl from Liverpool or Count Dankula or whatever, like she's not going to be able to relate with them. They're like plebs.
Yeah, and if I suck against something, then I'm for it. I tell you what, though, I mean, in many ways, I think this should be. First of all, I don't think the Met Police. I think because I'm on public pressure and everything, I don't think this is going to go anywhere because let's be honest, the Met Police have got the radical left on one side wanting to defund them, and then they've got the other side from Prosecco's upwards who are just pissed off for multitude of reasons. So, and then of course you got the regular beat officers, the regular PCs caught in between, who have to put up with the shit being produced by their seniors, who are like and political activists in their PR departments. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think it's interesting because I think this hopefully is a learning curve for Darren Grimes, because he has on multiple occasions chucked it's effectively done blue on blue attacks, and while he will be quite happy to rail against let's say the quote unquote woke progressives in some instances, there have been many instances where effectively when the left shouts racist, he will go, oh yes, and Julie Hartley-Brewer does the same as well. There's quite a few of them that do the same. I mean, like for example, when like Starkey was accused of being a racist, Julie Hartley-Brewer and him both agreed. They didn't refute it, which they could have done. And they're intelligent people. They know that he wasn't racist, and there wasn't a racist statement, and they knew the context. But they still decided to chuck him under the bus anyway. And
That's fun when you go back to once you've got these social structures in place, that the economic incentives are always going to, once you've got your position, you're doing well to yourself, you're not going to want to throw yourself under the bus just to help somebody else.
Yes.
Most people are just moral cowards, really.
It's also that there's this kind of, in these institutions in media and university or whatever, there's this kind of, I don't know, like I remember this from when I was at university, this sort of malaise hanging over everything, that the moral kind of direction is towards or against whatever people call a racist. Like it's not like as explicit as, oh, I might, get a pay cut if I do this. It's like a sort of automatic moral, I don't know what the word is, direction that everyone seems to kind of just buy into.
It's almost it's just self-regulating it.
Yeah, but it's like unconscious to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is definitely, especially in those circles, a level of unconscious participation in the left-wing thought. Because I don't think, I mean, I know there are some people who think that, Darren Grimes, he's a socialist, they're all socialists, they're all leftists, Juliana Broadhouse. I don't think they are. I think the problem is they are, it's sort of been ingrained, the sort of culture's been ingrained to such a level that when they say or do something where they agree with the left on something which they haven't looked into, and they agree with it, they do it unconsciously, and then they just become useful idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. I mean, when I don't know about you guys, when I see stuff from the Guardian or the Metro, or I call them the activist journalists. I'm always skeptical of what I read. I would never quote them exact saying, okay, yeah, this is gospel truth. Like with the polling, for example, we talk about the Trump one. The reason I'm skeptical of it is their methodology. It's number one. It's not something I think that. I mean, if they said they gave Biden like 2% vote lead over Trump, I would probably go maybe. But with these like whacking like 13 and 16% leads, I mean, I'm not even Obama. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember with Obama. I don't think even Obama got those sorts of leads over McCain. And so when it comes to it, they need to stop taking the left's at face value. They need to be more critical, and because they're not critical, and it's either because it's a mix of laziness or just, as you said, unconscious sort of ingrained culture that goes on with them.
Yeah, it's so sort of pervasive as well. I guess if they go against it, then they've got to kind of admit to themselves that everything that surrounds them is false.
Yeah. And unconscious bias, yeah. Full circle.
I wasn't going to go there.
Yeah, I know I didn't want to be the one to unironically say they're unconscious bias.
I guess what they normally mean with unconscious bias is kind of built into you, and what I'm saying is it's sort of it's like what they're saying is kind of inherent to you as a person. What I'm saying is it's a product of the environment, rather than who they are as a person.
Yeah,
I'm going for nurture over nature, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I think also, I mean, I've noticed that there's a lot of conservatives, MPs, and in particular, like Wets as well, which is interesting, who have sort of come out in support of Darren Grimes. So I'm just wondering, do you think the Wets sort of come to realization that
he's a young gay man who they all probably to some level respect,
and he is also a bit of a Wet, so
yeah, and he's also like sort of deeply metropolitan, and
it always seems like if somebody is a Wet, they'll be defended by the other.
Exactly, like they can relate to him very easily, and they can see this could happen to me.
Yes, yeah.
If some Scottish twat like Dankula, then they're not going to relate to him, so they're not going to defend him.
No, it's group preference, isn't it? It comes down to because and this is the thing is the Notting Hill set, this the liberal London Tories, Wets, what you like to call them, it's a very real group. In many ways, it really should be its own political party at this stage, because if any, like, say if there was a Conservative councillor or Conservative comment, I mean, let's just say Andrew Neil, this happened to Andrew Neil and he was being investigated. Do you think with Andrew Neil the response would be the same?
No, he's an old gammon.
He's an old gammon. Well, he is old Scottish gammon, and
he's not young liberal gay man, is he?
No. I'm just trying to think who. I mean,
no one's been defended to the level that Grimes has.
No, he.
I will say though, the difference between him and the others is that it's not something that he said. It's somebody that he had on his show. So you could say the argument would be that, saying in terms like Dankula was the one who made his Nazi pug joke, whereas Grimes just had a guy on his show who says something that they don't like. Like, that's the step, I guess, which is probably what people are saying.
And maybe because Grimes distanced himself from Starkey, maybe that's another.
Well, yeah, fat lot good that did him. Like, what did he achieve by chucking Starkey under the bus? Like, if he'd stood with him, he'd still be in the same spot.
But I guess a lot of people have seen that as maybe more unjustifiable, and now he's being investigated. So that's why another reason why they're jumping on board to defend him.
I mean, we've all had. I imagine we've all had our own scraps on social media and such. But when I've said something which people have disagreed with, especially when I go on to like lefty Twitter pages and I like Navarra Media and such, where I've had like proper spats. I mean, you could have like 50 to 100 people come at you and say, "Oh, bigot, Nazi, racist," the usual stuff. And go fuck yourself and all that. And yet, I think that a lot, like people like Darren and such, those with egos, let's say, and have this public image they want to keep, they are frightened to have that sort of hatred directed at them, and so they will bend the knee when needed.
Yeah, I guess this is something that I think initially comes from Sargon of Akkad, where he said something like, "Why would an MP want an access to the voices of the public? Like, why would you want a Twitter account as an MP? You got 100 people suddenly jumping on you, being like, 'You're shit, you're terrible, you're the worst person ever.'"
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, if I was an MP, which maybe one day, but if I was an MP. I wouldn't be worried. Depending where your seat was, if it was like like hundreds of your constituents calling you shit and useless and everything else, that's one thing. But when it's like, think tanks, activists in universities, professors, and media commentators and such calling you shit and calling you a Nazi, I wouldn't care. I mean, literally would not care a single ounce. I mean, in fact, I'd probably troll them even more. And I think the problem is they don't understand. I think it comes back to the thing is they actually think Twitter, and Darren thinks Twitter is real life, and that the people in that who are, he thinks when he sees thousands of people calling him a racist and a Nazi for posting Starkey, he actually genuinely thinks that the rest of the country, that is basically those thousands of people, is the rest of the country agreeing with them.
Well, I mean, Twitter is not real life is becoming less and less true every day. Like, we've got mobs of people burning down American cities and smashing up statues in this country. Like, it,
Yeah, but I see when it comes to the statue thing, like for instance, Joz, where you live in a rural bit, I imagine.
I jump between a rural bit and a city centre bit.
Yeah. So in your rural bit, do you have like statues in your rural bits?
War memorial, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what's the likelihood of Antifa or Black Lives Matter coming to your bit or like home, like from your local area, people joining Antifa group, going up to the statue and attacking it?
Oh, mate! If you only knew how retarded that question that was. There's like 100 people in the village, and they're all over the age of 50. I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. So that's because it is a bit of a retarded statement. Because the simple reason is it's happened. We know where these places are happening. Like take Poole, Poole for example, with Baden-Powell statue. That was a turning point because that was the next sort of left's target, and the locals came out and defended it, and there was real public pressure. But Black Lives Matter went on the back foot, and the iconoclasts in Antifa were pretty much extinguished. I mean, the worst of the violence when it came to this country of the statues has been Bristol and London.
Yeah, I was going to say London outside Downing Street, around that area.
Yeah, Parliament, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was the 26 police officers injured? Mostly peaceful.
Mostly peaceful rioting.
Actually, that's the point. That was the first. We've seen a lot of a slight tangent, I guess, but we've seen a lot of statements and catchphrases and talking points being kind of copied and pasted between the UK and the US, especially between our Tories and the Democrats. The mostly peaceful thing's another one, isn't it? That started in the UK. The first time we saw that was the protests outside Downing Street, and that's been transplanted across to the US as well. Like, we also had Build Back Better as another one that they've both been using. Yeah,
Biden has a very bad habit of stealing British politicians' catchphrases. Yes. He did it in the 80s with Neil Kinnock.
Yeah, Neil Kinnock. He stole a whole speech, didn't he?
Yes, it was a whole speech he plagiarized because the man is a professional shyster. He's nothing original knocking around in that dementia brain of his. He is completely he's a complete puppet of whether it's the corporate wing of the Democrats or probably more recently it's going to be the Democrat socialists. He's
too far gone to know the difference. Like, whoever gives him a teleprompter or whatever.
Yes, well, all of them. Well, that's why I mean, and okay, so thank you for reminding me on this, the helicopter bit. The Sky News has, they unearthed this. Sky News worked with the Guardian to unearth this, radical story that the UK has been selling shields. Riot shields and I think riot equipment in general to America. And wait for this, guys, those riot shields and equipment have been used against riots.
Oh my God.
I know. Wow. Shocking. So I mean, I'm still waiting for the report that actually that knee pad that officer wore when he was kneeling on George Floyd's neck, that knee pad was made in the UK.
That's a holy item.
It's all fucking British Empire strikes again, boys. We killed George Floyd. It's all the British people.
Did you guys see that he's actually been released on bail recently?
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
Uproar about that.
Yeah, there were loads of articles being like, George Floyd's killer was released from jail, despite the fact he hasn't been convicted yet.
No, let's be honest. George Floyd died because he was an overweight fat fuck who was a druggie. That's the only reason he died, when he was lying on his chest.
Yeah, that's a normal police tactic. Is when you're straining somebody who's non-compliant, you put your knee around their neck.
Yeah, imagine thinking you can crush somebody's windpipe by putting the knee in the back of your neck.
Well, obviously, I mean, I've played rugby. I don't know you guys, but I can tell you, you're not going to. Placing your knee on your neck is not going to kill you unless you're a fat fuck who is on drugs and alcoholic. Yes, and I'm not going to say the guy's name. I'm just going to refer to him as the fat fuck druggie.
He shall be named.
Yeah, and I will stick. No matter what happens in the future with interviews and such. Yes, Guardian journalists watching this, you can quote me on that. He's not. I'm not even going to name him. He's just going because there's never been in the point in history such an inconsequential scumbag has had such a massive influence.
Really.
Yeah. I mean, where I live in my town, someone put up his name, like, you know whose name, and I just looked at it, and I just thought, Jesus, we've got a druggy problem already. Why are we going to have import American fucking lowlifes as well?
I mean, for example, if the riots didn't happen, his death would have been a net positive for society. If I'm going to be really honest, because he never contributed anything. Could have put our civilization.
Plantagenet endorses the killing of lowlifes who don't contribute anything.
Yeah, I mean, if people are sucking away from society, then
they should be killed, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Pretty much. Right, this is my life over. See you boys there.
Damn.
And actually, I just I like to write some fan fiction and some narrative content.
Oh no.
I had this really radical, like, because I'm into time travel, right? What if the baby, like the unborn baby, that, because you remember George? Oh, okay, I'll break the rule and say his name, George Floyd. You know that he robbed a pregnant woman at knife point. What if the baby was a time traveled back as a police officer, and was the police officer that strangled George Floyd and
surprise, motherfucker.
So that's my. I mean, I'll need some help to get it into comic format. Yeah, that's my fan fiction of how I imagine the narrative to go, because it would also be like a bit of poetic justice.
Well, who knows? Maybe the person that did the phone call was actually the child.
Yes. I mean, I was actually going to say the cop who was accused of the one that was the what's his name, the white guy that was accused of, like, who was kneeling on his neck during the
Chauvin, I think.
Chauvin, yeah.
Did he because he got he actually reached the bail
yeah, it was $1 million.
$1 million. Yeah, he reached it, which is quite interesting. I wonder who helped him along the way for that. But
yeah, I wonder where that came from.
Yeah, and 1 million. Yeah, 1 million. I mean, heroes. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, in America, like in this country, there is a very big pro-cop, pro-police lobby / movement. Probably bigger than Black Lives Matter and Antifa, I would say, like in raw numbers size. Because this is the important thing, especially in the American election context. White suburban urban women who don't like Trump by and large, but also they don't like law and disorder, lawlessness and disorder. So another reason why I think the polls are wrong, and another reason I think that Trump's going to win every single state, but DC. It's going to be a landslide. It's going to be a victory. It's going to be amazing.
Well, because of the white suburban women.
California will go red. Everything will go red, and the TYT will be. I'm going to be watching TYT on the night, by the way, guys.
I think the night is going to. I'm more than tempted to take the next day off work and stay up all night.
Yeah, I'm going to be
such a shit show. It's going to be so funny.
I'm going to be watching Sargon. I'm going to have, like, on 2 monitors, Sargon stream and TYT, and I'm going to see, because if it's going to go the way that I hope it's going to go, TYT is going to have some amazing content, especially the Buffalo. He's going to go absolutely fucking ballistic.
Are they still like going on? I haven't heard anything for like years. So are they still like popular, or I think they just kind of died down a bit, or still?
Well, I watch what's his name, Dame Pesos, who does like TYT meltdowns. He's really good actually. You should subscribe to him. He basically covers like the TYT team, especially St. Hugo and such, and Anna what's her name? The Armenian one.
It's great. It was like a K or something.
Kasparian.
Yeah.
Kasparian, yeah. He covers them. I mean, at the moment they've created like a super PAC, like their own like political faction, and there's some like legal problems going on at the moment, but that he's managed to find out like some money stuff. So yeah, it looks like that Saint could get into some serious trouble. So that will be interesting to see. But from what I can see at the moment, I think election night is going to be it's going to be fun either way. I think I'm going to be staying up to watch it definitely. I don't know. I'm going to be on the day. I'm not going to be able to. I'm just going to be really like bloody nervous because from a British perspective, we want Trump to win as well because because the very simple reason that like when it comes to Brexit and post trade deals, Democrats have already said they don't.
This has caused my American friends to have a bit of a meltdown at me when I said that. I'm like, there is, from the point of view of my country, which I care about more than your country, I want Trump to win. And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, okay, you obviously care about your country more than you care about my country. So which one is it going to be?
Yeah. And yes, yeah, exactly. Because if you're a Brexiteer, and you don't want Trump to win, then you're not really a Brexiteer. Because for the very simple reason that the Democrats have already said that they won't do a free trade deal with us if we still operate the internal market bill, which is, I mean, the internal market bill, for people who are wondering, it's just ensuring the right that I can trade with somebody in Northern Ireland, in my own country, or in Scotland, part of my country. That it's still the idea is still that we can still trade with our fellow countrymen internally, and the Democrats are like, no, what are you doing? This is terrible. I mean, that'd be like us saying to the Americans, if you're someone in New York, you can't trade with someone in New York and Michigan. It's mental. But yeah,
the eternal Irishman strikes again.
Yes,
the Jewish conspiracy is the Irish.
I just want like some like pro-Cromwellian group to go on TV and say, I don't care what you say, but 6 million from Cromwell is such a large number.
How many potatoes does it take to kill an Irishman? 0.
The famine isn't real. Show me the crops.
Why didn't you grow other crops?
Yes. God, this is actually very spicy stream today. Yeah. So, I mean, that's that. Anything else that you two wanted to add this evening?
You've put me on to Tucker Carlson talking about UFOs. So
yeah, so let's talk about UFO because we're going. I mean, we've basically done Holocaust jokes and George Floyd jokes. Let's go into the conspiracy theorist bit and talk about UFOs. Just do a joke.
Let me get my tinfoil hat.
Yeah. So, as you all know, everyone, I'm into UFOs because people think it's ridiculous, and so I'm thinking, actually, not a good idea to talk about UFOs.
It's the media, man. They're lying to you.
Yeah, it's
the government are evil. Wait a sec.
So I'm just going to bring up I'll bring this up because this is.
Speaking of UFOs, it's a site I occasionally for the some giggles because they call things like apparent UFO case files. So I don't know if it's legit, but it's always interesting to read through.
The Black Vault.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna share. I'm being a boomer with sharing stuff today. Okay, I've got the audio, so we'll just play this segment and
Go on then.
let's see how long before Joz starts shouting.
3.
Reason there is now an enormous amount of evidence, including physical evidence, that UFOs, whatever they are real. Why don't we know a lot more about this? Because the government has hidden that information from us, outrageously. But now some of that information has come into public view thanks to a new documentary called Phenomenon. We learned the feds are hiding more than we thought they were.
Wait, are they going off the moon landing?
Nobody has to agree that why it's there, but shouldn't we at least be spending some money to study all these phenomena? Shouldn't we study this stuff? The answer is yes, and that's all this was about, and why the federal government all these years has covered up, put brake pads on everything, stopped it. I think it's very, very bad for our country.
Are you saying that there's some evidence that still hasn't seen the light of day?
I'm saying most of it hasn't seen the light of day.
It's outrageous. And it's not a partisan question, by the way. That, of course, was former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid of Nevada, a Democrat if there ever was one. But that's not even the biggest claim he makes. According to the film, Reid said that UFOs have actually and repeatedly interfered with our nuclear weapons capabilities. So where are these UFOs from? Some researchers told the filmmakers that their origins are becoming clearer.
Dr. Jacques Vallée has collected purported metal debris from UFO cases dating as far back as 1947 that experts are analyzing in a state-of-the-art laboratory. He was astonished to find their composition was unlike any known metal.
This material was manufactured. It's not natural. It's not natural to the materials that we have around us in the lab or on the Earth.
Yeah, physical evidence of extraterrestrial spaceships visiting Earth, not a big deal. It's nothing compared to like the fly on Mike Pence's forehead. If this wasn't an election year, we'd be doing a full hour on this, maybe a full week. It's that important. Unfortunately, we just have a few minutes with James Fox. He's the director and producer of the Phenomenon, now the White House Streaming Services, and Christopher Mallon, a former senior intelligence official from the Department of Defense. They join us tonight. Mr. Fox, first to you. Thank you both for coming on and for making this film. I just want to ask you in turn about these two strains from the documentary. The first, to you, James Fox, is the question of the nuclear weapons facilities. How often do we think UFOs have visited and why?
Well, that was one of the big bombshells that Harry Reid dropped during production of the film. It really kind of caught me off guard because it's the first time, a government official of his magnitude, of his level, had revealed that these UFOs were not only seen over, super secret nuclear weapons facilities, but they were interacting, shutting on and off some of the missiles. He went as far as even saying that if the president had called upon to launch the missiles on several occasions, they couldn't have done it. The missiles were deactivated. And this has also been happening in Russia. And we document those cases very thoroughly with high-level military officials testifying about these incidents.
It's beyond. Mr. Mallon, quickly to you, physical evidence of UFOs, metal from the craft, where?
Well, this is, my congratulations to James. This is the most informative and engaging documentary, important documentary on this subject, because it's no longer a theoretical issue, as you've observed. This is now the Defense Department has confirmed this is happening. Congress is asking questions. They're asking for a report. So this information, people need to get an understanding and a context in which to sort of process and absorb this. In terms of the materials, there are private researchers, Jacques, perhaps foremost among them, also to the Stars Academy, that have materials and are funding research. Jacques is a meticulous scientist, so he's sending it to peer review in multiple labs. But the gist of it is that those materials were engineered at an atomic level. It's a capability that we don't even possess. If they can prove that, demonstrate that, that will raise a lot of interesting questions.
You think? You've been for a long time. Thank you both. Congrats on the film.
Right. So, thoughts, everyone.
I'm pretty sure we can engineer materials at an atomic level. That's chemistry.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a bit of a bizarre. I was going to raise that. Was he saying that because obviously, if it's engineered, and obviously no, it's not naturally forming. Is he saying that the metal that was found, the actual raw metal itself, is not of this planet, or is he saying that the chemical compound that is being
I mean, it could be some mad alloy, but I'm fairly sure, for example, airplane turbine blades for jet engines are, I think, made to be just one crystal of perfect steel. So I don't see how you can get any more advanced. That's just an example. In terms of atomic molecular engineering, you've got a solid foot-long block of metal that's just one solid crystal all the way through of all the atoms perfectly, all the different things lined up together. So saying that it's been engineered on an atomic level, it seems a bit retarded to me.
Yeah. I mean, one of them who was in the interview, he's done I've seen him on UFO things before, and I wouldn't say he's credible. There are some people in the UFO community who are slightly more credible than not the guy with the glasses, but there was the guy on the left of Tucker. I can't remember what name he is, but he's he definitely I wouldn't take his word for it. I've just noticed that there's been a lot of people leave ever since we started talking UFOs. A lot of people just left the chat thing because obviously they came from political content. Now we're talking about fucking UFOs. But Plantagenet has just sent me over the link to the what's it called, the black bolt.
Yeah, I've been on it a couple of times. So I don't know if it's related. Yeah, I've got some stuff on there, but I obviously I don't know how. I don't really know too much about this topic.
Yeah, and this was the latest one. So, from what I've gathered, I mean, this one, looks like a blimp to me. It looks
like a white. It was more like a cigar, I guess.
Was it a video?
Yeah, it's a video of it.
Oh my god! No puedo creer. Mira, he tenido que pagar.
Could that be a drone?
It could be.
I guess it could be. Probably. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Seems like better perspective, really, on what's. I mean, that's the thing. If they were aliens, I mean, let's just say it's aliens, for example, because the more, let's say, the UFO sightings which are more questionable, the ones that are more credible. Sorry, let's say credible. The ones that have got greater mystery to them. Those UFOs go out of their way to hide from people, whether it's the jet, the guy in the fighter jet, or other UFO radar images or stuff. They usually, these UFOs go out of their way to basically hide, and then when planes turn up or jets, they all shoot off because they don't want to be sticking around. So why would this? Let's just say it's a UFO with aliens in it. Why are they cruising around New Jersey and just hovering over a motorway, thinking, "Oh, this is a good plot just to hang out"?
Yeah, it's the fact that it's always America as well.
Well, that's why you have to go with the well, is it America? Is it only America? I mean, there's a chance that some of the undeveloped countries which don't have iPhones, everyone doesn't have iPhones. I mean, in theory, you could be living in an African village and a fucking great big UFO could pop up above you.
Yeah, but there's however many, there's more people in Europe than there are in North America.
Yeah.
So you want the final red pill. The Democrats are actually working with the aliens, and that's the reason they put a USA.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
Yeah. I mean, the only reason I want these UFOs to be real is so that if the British, if there's, well, number one, this would require a competent British government. So Yeah, it probably wouldn't work. But if it was real, then we take the devices in the UFO, we shoot down a UFO, we back engineer it, we create star destroyers, and then British Galactic Empire. And that's all I care about. I don't care about fucking aliens and their civilization. No, fuck them.
What's
They
the
will
point of colonizing
be-
the galaxy if there's no natives to enslave, right?
Exactly. And this time we'll make sure that they don't get to have we won't have like fucking critical alien race theory in the future where we have to deal with their fucking victims of bullshit.
Fucking human privilege.
Yeah. So that's why I want it to be real. I don't care about because this thing, all of these like UFO people are like all fucking kumbaya, holding hands around the campfire, saying about like energy and like new age sort of spiritual crap and everything. Especially that Richard, that was it Gere or Dr. Stephen Gere or whatever he's called. Yeah, I'm quite deep in the UFO community stuff, so yeah. There are some who are just complete and utter bloody hippies, and for me, I just want it for just raw power, and because I want British Death Stars to be patrolling our galactic.
Let's take a about this. And I will admit, at the time, I was pretty baked, but the guy had the audacity to say to me that humans should form a one world government, so that when we meet aliens, we stand the best chance of resisting them.
Fuck that. Do you honestly want the likes of Iran or Saudi Arabia? Oh, no, fuck that. Not having one world government. That sounds like gay as shit. We want British Empire too.
You're going to be fighting against technologically advanced enemy. You want to be as decentralized as possible. Like it's literally the plot of Halo. If you're in one place, they can just like nuke that bit from orbit, and then you're done.
But having said that, though, maybe Japanese kamikaze Death Star pilots would be a benefit. Possibly.
I somehow feel like as a culture, Japan's a bit too pos these days for that to be a thing, unless we can bring it back somehow.
I know. I think the most base we can possibly get is space letters of marque.
Now, I know that with joking aside, there's another part of my conspiracy mind that looks at this, and there's been a lot of stuff with UFOs recently over the last couple of years now. It's now been talked about more mainstream, so naturally the sort of tinfoil hat nutter within me is starting to come to the idea that maybe this is the push for one. This is all a hoax. Was it Operation Blue Beam and all that sort of stuff? It's all a massive hoax to push the world to a one world government. Use it with because there was a thing about Operation Blue Book, and it was Blue Beam or something, where it was basically David Icke related stuff we're going into, but to fabricate an alien invasion that forces the world into one world government and world centralized bank and everything.
I genuinely blame science fiction for the idea of the one world government. Like so many people, especially my age, see it as just, they take it as read. They just don't even question that that's where we're going. And it's only when I question it, because I'm the only person who questions it, that I like push them a bit. They don't know why they think of it. And as I start pointing out that centralization is like the worst in general, especially for space travel and shit, that they actually go, wait, shit, maybe that's not the best idea.
I mean, fundamentally, most people won't think these things through, will they? So
yeah, it just seems to be such a sort of like default narrative that everyone just kind of believes. I don't know how it is for people who are older than us, but I mean, I'm in my 20s, so people my age.
It works. I mean, at least a lot of the older generation is just like the magic TV box tells me everything I need to know.
Well, exactly, and this is what is annoying whenever I talk to people. It's like they don't seem to want to accept the fact that the man on the TV is lying to them. As Alex Jones as that sounds, like It's true.
Sad times.
Yeah. As some more identified. This is stuff in space.
Oh, that's Star Destroyer, is it?
Yeah, this is
This is blatantly a Star Destroyer.
I mean,
make out.
Sorry?
I can make out Union Jack on that Star Destroyer. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, that looks like a smudge on the lens, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks like a piece of equipment from the actual.
I don't know what that is.
It actually looks like the Assassin's Creed, like what's it like the seals or something. Okay, so yeah, maybe some of them. What is it? So this is like an identified space object.
Identified quotes
from 1960. Yeah. I mean, the thing there is that I'm just trying to find, is there UFOs, like photos? Here we go. I want some good photos of UFOs. Oh my God, really? What the fuck? Seems legit. Is there a video? Oh, please tell me there's a video of this. No, there isn't. It's just video.
We've gone down a rabbit hole here, haven't we?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. That could be. I mean, that a boat. It could be anything, and under there. Okay, that's funny though. That is funny. I will grant. Okay, well, I don't believe that one for absolutely. Now this is quite interesting. I've seen this one before go around. It's like these funny sort of. Oh no, don't go in that. It's like these what's it? Yeah, this object here. So yeah, I've seen these sort of like videos and photos before of like. They're like sort of cubes in there, which is quite interesting. Again, what do you guys think about the cube, the flying cube?
Like, it only makes sense if, like, you'd expect if they were in atmosphere, they'd have to have some sort of aerodynamic shape. But like, if they've got mad technology, which means they don't need to care about that, then sure, why not have a cube? Like, a cube's kind of a. If you were going to go for anything, you go for a sphere, I guess, because that's the easiest to keep heating and stuff. I don't know why you choose a cube.
I don't know why they chose the cube either. But I mean, what is it? I mean, these things sort of hover over like the deserts and the ocean. I mean, but this is the thing. Like, is it if it's like, okay, let's just say it's like U.S. government, like or like some sort of or NASA or some sort of experimental whatever. That means it has a propulsion system which is not it's not visible. There is no like exhaust fumes. There's no wings. There's no obvious point of propulsion. Yet it's able to hover in midair.
Well, you'd have to have like some sort of electromagnetic or gravitational thing, which I've no idea how that would even work.
Well, like, yeah, and that's the point, because that means technology. There's that means you would have anti-gravity technology operate that someone out there has developed somehow.
Yeah, but someday I'm going to come up with like one of those tier lists of how impossible things are.
Yeah,
I'll put like the anti-gravity and stuff. I'll put near the top because it's pretty fucking impossible.
Yeah, but that pretty fucking impossible stuff is floating right in front of me.
I'm feeling my head off now, though. But thank you for having me on now.
That's all right. Yeah,
good night.
I say we'll probably wrap up now. What we'll do is, Plantagenet, we'll put the Discord link. I'll put Discord links for you.
Oh yeah, I'll get that to you now.
The Weavers and such in there, and I'll put Joz, your channel and everything. Any shilling you guys want to do before we go?
I guess tomorrow I will be doing another one of my streams with Sam. We're going to be discussing cyborg, cybernetic enhancement, that sort of thing. Probably spend half the episode trying to define cyborg, to be honest, because it's quite hard to define. Sam's kind of going in his quest to become a space marine. That's his idea. So he's been researching on how he's going to do that. So we'll see what he's found.
Yeah. And I guess I haven't got anything planned so far, but yes, go check out Joz's stream because he's been doing some really good space stuff, and
if you're bored of politics and just want something slightly different, I mean, I'll still probably, just to the nature of who I am, I'll probably still dunk on governments and stuff, but that's fine.
And of course I'll be there watching, sending you. I'll say it'll be like sending messages saying, "Check out this UFO image. Check out this UFO space." Be that guy sending you.
I can get you on at some point to do a whole episode on UFOs if you like.
Yeah, but the trouble is, I mean, you want to be a reputable sort of astro, astronomer and scientist and everything. You'll be known as the guy who invited the UFO guy to come on and just talk about UFOs and dark vertical objects.
I don't give a shit. It'd be
funny. Okay, cool. Right, so thank you all, guys, and good night. And see you all guys later. Right. Oh yeah, Lord Oliver, you're late, but have a good night anyway.